Thanks for visiting my channel today. It's kind of a gloomy Saturday, but it's a perfect day for canning. Today we're going to be canning up some more yummy goodness to stock our shelves with. And today I'm going to be showing you a recipe out of the newer, it came out a few years ago, Ball Canning book. If you are a canner and you don't have this book, you need to get it. It's wonderful. It has a lot of really great and innovative recipes in it. Some different things that you may not think of canning. And today we are going to be canning up barbecued pulled pork. And it just takes a few ingredients that you probably already have on hand. And the wonderful thing about it is you just put it all together. There's not much prep work. You put it all together and your pork cooks right in your jar as you're canning it. It's wonderful. I love having this on my shelf because it makes a really quick and delicious meal. We like to use it on nachos. It makes a beautiful topping for nachos. If your kids come home from school and they're hungry and they want something really quick but hearty, this is great. Just make a plate of nachos with some good cheese on top and you're good to go. It's very satisfying. Another way I like to use it is on top of mac and cheese. The other way we've used it is on top of baked potatoes. Of course, you can always make traditional barbecue pulled pork sandwiches out of it. And the other way that I love it, remember those beautiful beans that we canned up last time? Put a jar of this in with your beans, make a salad. You have a complete meal in about 15 minutes. So it's really, really great to have on hand. And I'll just show you the recipe I'm using. Doesn't that look yummy? So anyway, enough talk, let's get started. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna make our sauce. So you just need a nice sized pan. And to that, we're going to add 1.5 cups of ketchup. You need a 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar. Make sure it's 5% acidity. We need 1/2 cup of firmly packed brown sugar. You want 1.5 cups of chopped onions. That's about 1 large onion. About 3 cloves of garlic, chopped, minced. You want to use fresh garlic, not that stuff from a jar. We need 2 tablespoons of good honey. And then we're gonna add, about 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire. I like the Lee & Perrins, but you can use whatever you have on hand or whatever brand you like. 2 tablespoons of that. And then we need 2 tablespoons of mustard. You can use whatever you have on hand. I believe the canning book says to use brown, but you can use whatever you like in your barbecue sauce. I have Dijon on hand, so that's what I'm going to use today. Need about 2 tablespoons. And then the other thing that I'm going to add that is not in the recipe, but it's totally safe to add, and that is some liquid smoke. If you were with me for canning the baked beans, I use liquid smoke in there, and it just adds a nice smoky flavor. And I'm going to add just a couple of teaspoons of that. And we're going to give that a good stir. Monty, no. Sorry. Apparently there's something outside disturbing the babies. Okay, you just want to give that a good stir so that it's all mixed together. And then you need about 5 pounds of pork shoulder. And you just want to cut it in some nice big chunks. This chunk's a little too big. So chunks about that size. There's another chunk so you can see just nice large chunks. And then we're going to add that. You need about 4 to 5 pounds of that. I did trim off some of the fat, but not all of it. There's a lot of flavor in the fat. So I did leave some. And then you just want to coat your meat in your sauce. So give it a really good stir. The other thing that I'm going to add, I don't think it says to in the book, but I'm going to add some salt and freshly ground black pepper, not very much, just to taste. I'm going to go ahead and add that, and then all we have to do is bring this up to a boil and let it simmer 5 minutes. So while this is simmering, I am going to get my canner ready, but we are going to pressure can because obviously meat cannot be water bath canned. It is a low acid food, so it must be pressure canned. So I have my 2 inches of water, and I put about 2 tablespoons of white vinegar to keep my jars nice and clean as it's canning. And so I'm going to bring that up to a simmer also because my water's ready. I'm going to get my jars nice and hot, and then we'll be good to go. Okay, we're back. How easy was that? Just throw everything in a pot, simmer it for 5 minutes, which is about the time it takes you to get your jars ready and your canner ready. And now we are ready to get things canned up. I'm going to can mine in pint jars, but you can can it in quart jars if you prefer. This recipe will make 3 quart jars or approximately 6 pint jars. So here we go. Just to remind you, you don't need to sterilize your jars. Just make sure they're nice and clean and rinsed really well, and then keep them hot. I keep mine in my sink in hot water. That works really well for me. But if you're canning for 10 minutes or more, they say you no longer need to pre-sterilize your jars or your lids. The ball lids, they just state to wash them really well, rinse them really well, and you can use them at room temperature. So that's what we're doing. So here we go. We're looking for 1-inch headspace. And 1-inch headspace is about to the bottom rim of your jar. If you're newer to canning. That one looks pretty good. A little awkward to get the meat in your jars because of the large chunks, but just gotta work at it a little bit. And once you get to about the 1-inch headspace, we're going to debubble. I use a debubbling tool, but you don't have to have that. You can just use a butter knife. Just go around the edge of your jar. Make sure everything's packed in there nice and tight. You want to release any air bubbles that got trapped at the bottom. And then you want to wipe the rims of your jars so you get a nice good seal. And then center your lid. Drives me crazy when my lids are not perfectly centered. I don't know about you, but just one of those things that bugs me if I don't get it right. Your bands fingertip tight. And then lift them into your canner. Looks and smells good already. All right, I'm going to finish filling my canner, and then I'll bring you back once we are ready to get things going. Okay guys, my canner is full. I thought I would bring you in for this step. Usually I don't show this step on camera. In case any of you don't have an all-American canner and you're interested in maybe investing in one, I just wanted to show you how the All-American canner works. They're all a little different. Now, in light of full disclosure, your canner comes with these huge orange, white, and black stickers on both the lid and the pot. And they asked you that you leave them on there. I hate those stickers on there. I just think they're an eyesore and they really bug me, so I peeled mine off. So that's why mine are not on there. Anyway, it's just one of those things that bugs me, so I got rid of them. So you just put your lid on, and the lid has these little catches on it that catch on the little lip of the where your thumb screws are. And then it shows you there's a notch there, and then there's an arrow on the lid, and you just want to line the arrow up with the notch on the pot. And then you want to make sure that your lid is as even as possible most of the way around. So I just kind of check it, see how even it is, and then adjust it a little bit if it needs it. And then when you tighten it, you want to tighten opposites. So you don't ever want to do one at a time. You have to do two at a time, and then you just go opposites all the way around. Just like that. Make sure they're nice and tight. And that's it. I'm gonna crank my heat up, and we're going to let it vent, meaning you're gonna let steam pour out of this vent hole here for 10 minutes. And then we're going to put our weight on. I guess mine's over there. Put the weight on, and then once it starts to rattle, we will start timing. So I'll bring you back when we're ready for that. The other thing I wanted to mention about this recipe is the recipe that the amounts that they state on their recipe give you just barely enough sauce to cover everything. I really packed my pork cubes in my jars to have enough sauce. So you might want to keep that in mind. I had forgotten about this the last time I made it. So you might want to keep that in mind and maybe use a little extra of everything by, I don't know, a couple tablespoons or whatever, so that you have plenty of sauce to work with. Otherwise, you just really have to pack your meat in there to have enough sauce to cover your meat. And you do want to make sure that it is covered to 1 inch headspace. So just a little word of wisdom there, and I will bring you back when we're ready to put our weight on. Okay guys, see our steady stream of steam coming out? That's what we want for 10 minutes. So we're going to vent our canner for 10 minutes, and then once that time is up, we're going to put our weight on, and I'll bring you back for that. Okay, we've been venting our steam for 10 minutes, and now it's time to add our weight. I'm going to be canning at 10 pounds of pressure. Hopefully you can see the numbers on that okay. It's hard to tell. I don't know if you can see it or not. You can 10? We're going to do 10 pounds of pressure. That's what's appropriate for my altitude, but it may not be for yours. So make sure you find out your altitude and what PSI you're supposed to be canning at. That's really, really important. So now what's going to happen is we're going to wait for our temperature to come up to approximately 240 degrees. And at that point, our little weight will start rocking and rolling, and we start timing. Okay guys, we're up to temperature and we're rocking and rolling, so it's time to start timing. I am doing pints, so we need 75 minutes of processing time. If you're doing quarts, it's 90. So I'm going to set my timer 75 minutes, and I'm going to adjust my heat. You want your weight to rattle 1 to 3 or 4 times a minute. You don't want it continually rattling like that. So I decreased my heat to about a medium, but it'll vary from stove to stove. So you need to just be aware of it, listen for it to shake, rattle, and roll for 1 to 3 times, 4 times a minute. And then adjust your heat accordingly. Here we go. Now let the fun begin. Okay, my pressure has returned to 0. So now it's time to remove the weight. And there's still a little bit of pressure that's escaping, but there shouldn't be much at this point. So what I'm going to do now is, per instructions on my canner, it says to wait 2 minutes. I know the ball canning book that this recipe came from said to let things stand for 5. So it's up to you if you want to follow the instructions on your canner or the instructions that Ball put in their book. It's entirely up to you. But between 2 and 5 minutes, we're going to let things stand, and then we're going to take off the lid. Okay, time to remove the lid. I did want to mention that if you don't have an all-American canner, one of the reasons they only want you to wait about 2 minutes is because the longer you let your canner sit closed after your pressure has returned to 0, you run the risk of creating a seal so tight that you can't get your lid off, and then that's a problem. So, I mean, you can get it off, but you have to really work at it. It doesn't come off easily. So we don't want to create a vacuum in there, so that's why I try really hard to follow the instructions for my all-American canner. So then wait your 2 minutes, and then you're gonna unscrew your thumb screws the same way you did, maybe I screwed that one on too tight, the same way you screwed them 2 at a time, opposites of each other. They're usually pretty hot, that's why I use hot pads. And then you want to release your lid, so you're going to twist it counterclockwise to release your latches. And then the best thing to do is open it away from you so you don't get any of that hot steam in your face. Then we are going to let our jars cool gradually in our canner for at least 10 minutes. Some people do it longer. I have found 10 minutes works really well for me. I've never had a problem. So let them sit 10 minutes, and then I'll bring you back and we'll take them out and see our finished product. It's so exciting. I thought you all might like to see my little noisemakers. This is Manny, and that's Monty, and these are the 2 little guys who make all the noise in the background when I'm making videos. Can you say hi? Can you grin? Can you grin? Come on, grin. Hi, Monty. Hi, buddy. Hi, Manny. Hi. You gonna grin? You gonna give us a grin? Manny man. Okay guys, I let my jar sit in my canner to cool down a little bit before I take them out for about 10 minutes. So we are all done. I'm telling you, this is so good, and it's so great to have on hand. Really versatile. And I want to show you how beautiful it is. Look at that. Doesn't that look fantastic? And it really wasn't hard to do. Just a lot of the stuff you already have on hand, ketchup, mustard, all the things to make the barbecue sauce with. You already have that on hand. Just get you a nice pork shoulder and cut it up in some nice chunks and can it up, and you have a delicious and versatile dish at your disposal. If you haven't tried pulled pork nachos, you need to give those a try. They're absolutely delicious. This tutorial I tried to go through each step this time. I'm never really sure when I do my videos if you guys want to see everything. I don't want to bore seasoned canners, but I also want to show that canning's not hard for people who might be interested in getting into canning or newbies. So this time I went through a few more steps, and I hope that didn't bore anybody, but I did want to show that canning's not hard. It's just a matter of following steps. If you have any comments about this recipe or questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I'll be happy to answer them for you. And I highly encourage you to get yourself a copy of the Ball canning book. It is a great thing to have on hand. If you're not a canner, it has other ways of preserving. It talks about the other methods of preserving. So it has recipes for pickling, for fermenting, dehydrating, all the freezing, all those other methods of preserving. So it's not just a canning book, although it has some wonderful recipes in there, really different things. And I'm going to hopefully bring you along for some more things that I'm wanting to can up out of that book. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed coming along with me today, and I hope you'll give this a try. If you're not a canner, I hope that this inspires you to maybe give it a try yourself and to not be intimidated by it. I know canning can be intimidating for some people. It was for me at first, but it's really just a matter of following step-by-step instructions. And the instructions are the same. They never change. Really, the only thing that changes is your processing time. But the steps that you follow are still the same. So you just get into a routine of following all those steps, and it isn't hard to do. And it's so wonderful to have food on your shelf that you made. You know exactly what's in it. You know exactly how long you've had it. And it's just really great. I just absolutely love canning so much, and I'm so glad that I took the time to learn. So I hope you will give it a try as well and try this recipe. I promise you it's really, really great and you will really enjoy it. Thanks for joining me today. If you are not a subscriber, subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video and if you enjoyed coming along with me today. And I hope to see you next time. Have a great day. One last thing that I did want to mention for those of you who are new to canning. Your jars, you want to let them sit for 12 to 24 hours undisturbed. And then after that time is up, the next day, I always let them sit overnight, and then the next day I remove the bands. You do not want to store any of your jars with bands on them. You should always remove the bands. That way if you have a bad seal, it will show. You will know that you have a bad seal. If you leave the bands on, it can create a false seal, and you don't want that. So remove the bands, and I actually wash my jars with hot soapy water. When you are processing your food, sometimes liquid can leach out of your jars, and then it's on the outside of your jars, and you don't want to store dirty jars. So I always use hot soapy water and a washcloth, a dishcloth, and wipe everything down real well, rinse it really well, dry off my jars, and then label them and store them in my extended pantry. And then I have what I need when I need it. So just a little tip there. And check your seals also. You should be able to lift the jar up by the lid, and it should stay, the seal should stay intact. So that's just a good way to know if you have a good seal or not. So anyway, have a great day, and thanks for joining me.